Welcome back to the Pick Six podcast, and we are looking at week 11 of the NFL season today. Katie Mox and Will Brinson here, as always, joined by Sportsline's finest, RJ White and Alex Selelnick, aka Propstarz. This episode of Pick Six is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. If you like winning picks, make sure that you sign up at sportsline.com and use the promo code PICK to get your first month for just $1. Last episode in the feed, Brinson, Brady, and Leger discussed the Deshaun Watson injury and predicted the division winners. Check it out on our YouTube channel or anywhere that you get your podcasts. All right, so let's start by looking back at last week. In a change of events, fellas, I was the only one with a winning record. It hasn't exactly helped my overall record, okay, 25 and 32. But how about a winning week for Mox? Come on. Thank you.
Hey.
I needed it. Any key takeaways from last week, RJ?
Yeah, it was an interesting week. I didn't do that badly in the Circa contest. Went 4-1. The Baltimore loss really,
just a ridiculous non-cover. I mean, ridiculous.
You get that deflected interception, goes up in the air, and falls into a defender's hands, and he runs it back for a touchdown. I felt like they should have covered that game and give me a 5-0, but still doing well there.
Were you in the standings?
I think like around 240, tied for 240 or so. And
wow.
Top 100 cash, it's 50, 200 people. So doing well, right on the pace you want to be on at this time of year. Just have to keep chugging along with some 3 and 2s, and then hope that the other people ahead of me, some of them are going to lose. So hope that enough of them lose to get me the money.
I love that. I hope you win too, because then we can add that to your like Millie Maker, not Millie Maker. That's the fantasy one. Circa Millions winner, RJ White.
That would be nice.
It's got a good ring to it. Got a good ring to it. All right. Well, let's move things over into this week. We'll go through the early slate of games. Please note that all lines are subject to change and odds as well. This is about Thursday at 2 p.m. So even right now, guys, shop around the lines that we're even saying, because there is some discrepancies by a hook or so on a lot of different books on here. So we're obviously using all FanDuel odds because this show is sponsored by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Let's start with the Chargers laying 3 at the Green Bay Packers. This total 43.5. Brinson, a while ago you would never not bet on the Packers at home, but that's not this season, huh?
Yeah, I mean the Packers are trash, hot trash, in fact. And I think it's interesting that, and I sort of wrote about this for CBSSports.com, but everything's falling on Jordan Love in terms of the blame and the issues. And, part of that is because he was a first-round pick and he replaced Aaron Rodgers. And there's all these, reasons why Packers fans should be upset at Jordan Love, because they thought that, when you move on from Aaron Rodgers, that you're going to do it, especially for a guy that you traded up for to get for a franchise quarterback. And it looked like after like 2 games, it was like, oh my God, Jordan Love's a guy. Maybe not. But what's even worse? They have 9 first-round picks, I think, on defense, and they stink.
Yeah,
they can't stop anybody. The Chargers' offense is kind of regressing, but really showed some great signs against Detroit. Outstanding performance from Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen really balled out. And I think this is kind of a last stand for the Chargers if they want to make a playoff push at all. So I think we get an inspired performance from that offense. Brandon Staley's got to save his job too. And defensively, the Chargers should be able to do enough against Jordan Love and the Packers, I think, to come away with a win. Would like it to be less than 3, but it'll probably end up being a push with the Chargers -3 is the best bet, because the Chargers don't know how to do anything other than win by 3.
They don't even do that well.
Yeah, I'm on the other side. I love the Packers this week. You can talk about how trash they are. You know who's trash is the Chargers coaching staff. And I mean, they're just going to never be good. I think the market here is projecting them to be still be an above average team, because Packers have a great home field advantage, one of the best home field advantages in the league, especially you get down later in the year. It's even more so. So I think with this number, either the Chargers got to be better than average or the Packers have to be one of the worst teams in the league. And if you want to rank them next to the Panthers, I think that, that's your call. I don't think they're quite that bad. They look like they had a respectable offense on the road last week, despite a poor game from Aaron Jones. We thought with his absence, when he finally came back, that would be the difference. But he didn't play well, and he still had a good game. And then you get those 2 bad Jordan Love picks at the end, which you're never going to avoid with him. But, Chargers like to keep teams around anyway. Their defense 31st in yards per pass. So while Green Bay isn't Detroit, they're not going to score 41. I think they'll be able to score points in this game. Their defense, you talked about how bad they are. They had a rough run with injuries. A lot of guys missing last week. Should be better this week. Hopefully the secondary will be better. I know Jair Alexander missed Wednesday's practice, and because they traded away Rasul Douglas, that's already a double shot there. But luckily for them, you only have to recover 1 receiver for the Chargers because they're down to Keenan Allen, and he just gets all the targets now, and you don't really have to worry about any of these other guys. So, and Keenan Allen himself did not practice on Wednesday with a shoulder injury. So if he's limited in this game, I mean, I don't know how the Chargers are going to move the ball a ton here. You throw in their power rating plus Green Bay's home field. I wouldn't be surprised if you'd have made this line Packers -1, it wouldn't have shocked me. I think the Packers have a case to be favored here. So at +3, I love taking them. It's my first best bet.
All right, Propstarz, you're looking at Aaron Jones.
I do. I'm going to fade him. RJ mentioned him. He just hasn't looked good. He's got a lingering hamstring issue that just seems to have sapped his effectiveness. He's averaging only 3.7 yards per carry this season. He's been held under this line in 5 of 6 games. It's under 54.5 rushing yards, by the way. He's only gone over 1 single performance. It required 20 carries as well in the game. Chargers defense isn't good, but the one place that they're adequate or above average is they've been a good run-stopping defense. They were 8th in EPA allowed per rush coming into the week. They shut down Isaiah Pacheco, Breece Hall, Dante Foreman, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, held all those guys to below 60 rushing yards and 4.0 yards per carry. I think it's a good spot to fade Aaron Jones. I think we're just going to see pretty much a split between A.J. Dillon, who hasn't been great himself, but he's been equally, if not more effective than Aaron Jones. So I'm going to fade him. I think they're going to utilize Jones more in the short area passing game and as a receiver.
Chargers have been really good against the run too. And so would you guys start Keaton Mitchell on Thursday? We're recording this on Thursday. I'm asking for fantasy questions. Keaton Mitchell or Aaron Jones this week?
Depend.
Aaron Jones.
I would depend on kind of the situation. If I was trailing and I needed a high upside game, then I'd probably go Mitchell. If I'm looking for like a guaranteed 10 to 12 points, I'd go Aaron Jones.
Okay. You said Jones?
RJ,
yeah, that's right. This is my dad's fantasy team.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
I went 3-0 in his work league. He's surging.
Yeah, you're going to get the volume there, and I'm not sure you get it with Mitchell. He's like,
you got a minute? I need to talk to you. I'm like, oh boy. He's like, let's talk about this defense situation. We dropped the Vikings for the Chiefs. Very exciting news.
Oh, very exciting news.
Thought about actually picking up the Jacksonville Jaguars because Will Levis is currently on pace. Like, I think if you like prorated his pressures on like sacks, he'd have like 400 pressures on the season or something ridiculous. And the Tennessee Titans are headed to Jacksonville, where the Jaguars are a 7-point favorite with a total of 40.5. Pretty big, divisional matchup here for Jacksonville. Like you have the Texans nipping at your heels. Titans feel like they're probably done for the season and really can't do much on offense, which is why you're fading their team total, aren't you, RJ?
Yeah, I liked the Jaguars at -6.5. Even at 7, I would lean there, even though that's what my power ratings make it. It's just a great bounce back spot for them. Second straight at home off a bye. Tennessee's 3rd straight on the road with that rookie quarterback, and who very excited about that first game, and then it's kind of unfolded since then. And not looked as good. Tennessee's offense at 3.5 yards per play against Tampa's defense. And that defense profile is similar to Jacksonville this year statistically in yards per play. But Jacksonville's been way better on 3rd down. Tennessee's defense way easier to pass on than San Francisco's, which Jacksonville had, major issues with last week. I think this will be a good bounce back spot for them, and they'll put up points. They've had no problem beating up on limited teams like this, holding the scoring down a little bit. I think the only worry here is, of course, the Mike Vrabel underdog magic. But I have not been impressed with the offense lately, and even Jacksonville can get some pressure on Levis and keep this total under 16.5. Don't think the Titans are going to score 2 touchdowns in this game.
All right, moving on to an even more unimpressive offense. Las Vegas Raiders are taking on the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins laying 12.5. We talked about this on our Monday early leans or early odds show. I believe this was like 9.5 or 10. We told you to go ahead and lay that then, and this line would move. It has. Wow. Brinson, I think it's just at the line that Brinson, you weren't on Monday, actually.
I went on Monday.
But Harry was. I think Harry had said this. He thought this one would get up to 12.5, and look where it is, right where predicted.
Nice job, Harry.
But you're going to lay these points. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't.
What was the impetus for the line move? I mean, was it like? I mean, I haven't followed.
I think people just betting it. I think it's just people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's it's a pretty gigantic. It's a pretty gigantic move. If 3 points, I mean, like not because it's not an injury.
We saw it with the Cowboys last week. The Niners have gone up 2 points too. Like people are just hammering these double-digit spreads, which is crazy because the last few weeks there was a lot of really tight spreads, under a field goal. Now we got all these double digits.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's partially just a case of matchups. It's also a case of, and I think you're really seeing it this year more so than ever before in the NFL, where a major separation between the top teams and the bottom teams in the league. Like, and a lot of these bottom teams have lost quarterbacks or are just being run into the ground by Bill Belichick and Frank Reich, or Matt Eberflus. But you get the point. Weird season. Anywho, I'm taking the Dolphins as the best bet, laying the 12.5. Miami is probably getting Devin Achane back.
Oh,
right.
my
fantasy
needs it.
So you got to clear up your IR spots in those fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
And
hell yeah, might as well right now.
I don't think that the Raiders can. So here's the other thing too. Tyreek Hill against former division opponents. He's played the Chargers and the Broncos this year. Has 20 catches for 370 yards, I believe, and 3 touchdowns in those 2 games. Went for 215 and 150. Yeah. So he's got 215 against the Chargers, I think, and then 157 against the Broncos. Went bananas. He's going to do the same thing against the Raiders. He hates these teams. He likes to light up these teams. The Raiders aren't going to be able to slow him down. They don't have anybody that can stop Tyreek Hill. And Tua, they're coming off the bye, so they're well rested. Tua got cornrows. Like, did you see this?
Yeah.
It's like wild to see. It's like, what if Tua's it's like Tua's Breaking Bad moment, and all of a sudden he's just gonna like throw up bombs to Tyreek. Achane back again. That's huge. I think the running game gets going, and I don't think the Raiders, the Dolphins defense isn't like elite per se, but I don't think the Raiders can keep pace here, and I think Miami rolls. We've seen them beat up on bad teams. They don't have a win against a team with a winning record, but the Raiders, just 500, think they can take care of business here and win by 2 touchdowns plus.
Tua kind of looks like Drake with the
I think that was the
Is that? Wow. Okay.
RJ?
Yeah, I mean, it's too many points to lay with the Dolphins, I think, here, but I can't play the Raiders in this spot. Offense 29th in yards per play. O'Connell's not really lighting it up. Can't trust him on the road now for the first time since he became starter, I believe. I'm not completely sure on that, but Vegas defense 28th in yards per rush. Miami can get that lead in the first half and expand it in the second half with Achane and Mostert. So I would expect this to be around this number, maybe even higher. If I'm playing this game, it's going to be Raiders team total under. I am a little worried about a sleepy spot. Miami plays the Friday game next, a little bit of a short week. More worried about it with a lot of these Thursday teams. There are a lot of big favorites that play on Thursday next, and the market is telling them they don't have to take these teams very seriously. So we're going to go through with these games, but I would caution people to play a lot of big favorites this week.
You mean like the Thanksgiving games?
Yeah, so you get San Francisco play Seattle on Thanksgiving, and they're 11.5-point favorites this week. Cowboys are 10.5-point favorites.
Oh, you're saying the big favorites who are playing that Thursday game. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Cowboys big favorites on the road this week, and they have to worry about a Thanksgiving game next week. Commanders somehow big favorites this week, and they got to worry about the Cowboys next week, and Detroit is in that same spot too. So it's just a lot of these games. It seems like how are they going to not cover this big number? Sleepy spot, a lot of the quick turnaround, dealing with the holidays. So I'm a little worried about this week. I think it could be a weird week.
You're not worried about your Packers? Your precious little Packers going to Detroit?
Right, but the Packers aren't in a spot where they can not take a team serious. They're underdogs at home in that game, so a little bit different.
And they're not that serious in general,
Yeah, that's a really good point about the sleepy week. And yeah, the Dolphins are at the Jets on Black Friday, so that that's definitely something to watch. I think we'll see a lot of.
I'm back, guys.
You could actually, I think you could look at like over. They might even not use Achane a ton in this game, actually, if they think that they want to try to save him for that Jets matchup. I don't think he's actually activated yet. I could be wrong.
No, he might only get like 5 carries and only like 200 rushing yards, so a little bit disappointing.
I was 200.
I mean, the dude is unbelievable.
Still play him.
Cowboys. Speaking about the big favorite on the road on we're headed for a short week. Dallas, of course, hosting as they do every Thanksgiving. The Commanders at 4:30. Is that which game is the CBS game? That the CBS
is the Cowboys game.
Yeah. How about that? That game's on CBS. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. They are probably not calling. Yeah, the A team. The A team is probably not calling this game. Cowboys are 10.5-point favorites on the road against Carolina with a total of 41.5. That total juiced a little bit to the over. Man, Dallas has been really interesting. They beat the brakes off some really bad teams. They skunked the Giants 40-0 on the road in week 1. They've manhandled bad teams with the exception of the Cardinals, and they did it again with the Giants this past week. But I think it's an interesting spot. The Panthers are really bad. They are really bad, but it's so bad that Frank Reich took back play calling duties this week from Thomas Brown after 3 games, which to me is a very clear-cut signal that David Tepper has let Frank Reich know that if things don't turn around over the final 8 games of the season, he's going to be one and done in Carolina. And David Tepper doesn't care about firing people and paying them because he's like the second richest owner in behind the Walton family in the NFL, and he's the second richest by a long margin. And he'll fire. He just doesn't care. He'll fire somebody. We saw reports coming out this week of Bill O'Brien being linked to the Panthers because of his success with Bryce Young at Alabama, with everyone ignoring the fact that he had success with Mac Jones at Alabama and isn't doing it with the Patriots. But I think this is definitely a spot where the Panthers are desperate. And as you mentioned, it could be a look-ahead spot, RJ, for the Cowboys.
Yeah, my best bet here is a prop. I put on my Propstarz hat here, and I'm taking Tony Pollard under 66.5 rush yards. His best rushing total since week 3 is 55. Rico Dowdle looks like he could be working into a timeshare. He got some more work and was more effective last week. And I think the plan for these games here where the Cowboys are winning big or big favorites might be to rest Pollard a little bit, keep him fresh for the playoffs. So he hasn't been getting a ton of carries. I think 15 has been his max. Since week 3. And
Pollard was brutal, man. I mean, how did he not score against the freaking Giants?
So I think they just want him healthy and fresh in January more than this game. So I have him under 66.5. I really like Carolina in this game. I'm probably going to end up playing them in the contest. I'm thinking about it. I mean, this line is inflated off of Dallas' destruction of Tommy DeVito. Carolina's offense is bad, but not as bad as that offense we saw last week. Defense actually playing well. 4 touchdowns allowed in their last 3 games. Dallas averaging 17 points in their last 4 on the road. They could win in a big blowout if they're focused, but again, sleepy spot. Thursday next, road game against that awful Arizona team. It was the same situation. They didn't have to take them serious, and they lost that game by double digits. Then you point out double-digit home dogs are 29-1 against the spread in the last 30. And then this year, road favorites of 7+ are 0-7-2 against the spread this year. And so that's only 7. Now we're talking 10.5. It's just not a great spot to play the Cowboys. If you don't trust the Panthers, stay away from this game, but I would not lay it with the Cowboys here.
Yeah, and I think just to your point, too, about the Thanksgiving game, it matters for Detroit, of course. Like, it's a huge game. They're getting the Packers and they're hosting them. But like Jerry Jones takes these Thanksgiving games, they are weighted, more heavily weighted in his overall approach to like wins and losses than a normal game, especially against a Washington team that the Cowboys would be pretty big favorites against them at home. Like, I think Jerry, if you lost to the Panthers and then beat the crap out of Washington, that would be a net positive for Jerry Jones, honestly.
You should see this spread, I'm sure. Shout out to our friend Jane Slater, who is the team reporter for the NFL Network for the Cowboys. And every year she posts the Thanksgiving spread that Jerry Jones does for the media, and it is spectacular. So, yes.
Just want to point out real quick, who has not been awful is CeeDee Lamb. 3 consecutive games with double-digit receptions and 150-yard games. Brinson and I, we've been talking about it all offseason and even early in the season when he got off to a slow start. CeeDee Lamb was ready to ascend into that elite tier of wide receivers. I think he's there. He's been absolutely dominant, really not getting the same volume that a guy like Tyreek is, but the numbers are just off the charts. He's, I believe, 20 or 25 yards shy of 1,000-yard season in just 9 games so far. So hats off to CeeDee Lamb, who has been absolutely phenomenal.
Shout out to Dave Richard for trading me CeeDee Lamb 3 weeks ago in our Dynasty League. I had to give up Cooper Kupp and Mike Evans and Alvin Kamara, but I got CeeDee Lamb in the first round pick. So. And then beat the brakes off of Dave with CeeDee Lamb.
Sweet. All right. Well, one team that was really fun and frisky in the beginning and then kind of dropped off, but now is fun and frisky again. The Arizona Cardinals at the Houston Texans. Texans laying 4.5 on FanDuel. You could still grab 5s out in the market. So, as always, make sure that you're shopping around for the best lines. This total 48.5. I'm going to go ahead and take the points with the Cardinals. This just feels like a classic letdown spot for the Texans coming off 2 monster wins. They beat the Bengals as 7-point dogs. I know that line closed, I think, at 5.5, but at one point it was 7.5. And I just keep thinking back to this Kyler Murray 2-minute drill at the end of the game. It was so impressive with both his legs and his arm. You got James Conner back. And it just seems to me that the Texans have been going so strong. I still think they win this game, but I'm going to go ahead and give the points take the points with the Cardinals. And then also Propstarz, we talked about this on Monday, Trey McBride, over 54.5 receiving yards. He's only surpassed 40 receiving yards once in 8 games. But let's just look at last week. He reeled in 8 of 9 targets, 131 yards in that 25-23 victory over the Falcons. No Ertz still. And we know that Kyler Murray relies on tight end. So I think you said it, Propstarz. Keep hammering this guy as long as Murray is the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have slapped on Travis Kelce's jersey, and I wouldn't have been able to tell much a difference, honestly. Looked absolutely phenomenal, explosive, second-year ascending player. I love what I've seen from Trey McBride, playing in every down role. I believe 100% of the snaps last week. So, Kyler and him both look excellent.
Another game like that, he's going to have the Propstarz in his DMs. Not Propstarz, but Propstarz. So you can take bets on which pop star he ends up dating. I like the Texans early in the week, especially when 3.5s were out there. Now that it's getting a little bloated, I'm kind of on the side with Katie in Arizona. I don't see why they can't keep this game close. They had 5.9 yards per play against a solid Atlanta defense. My biggest worry with Murray is that he would be limited early by his injury on the ground, but he went 6 for 33, had a long run, had a touchdown on another run. And Arizona's defense had a good game. I know they're facing an elite Houston pass offense, which sounds weird to say, but Houston is like one of the best pass offenses in the league at this point. But maybe they can slow them down a little bit here. And their defense had been, and the Houston defense had been solid before the wild Tampa Bay game, 3rd in yards per rush. Could put a little more on Murray throwing the ball. So that's why I like the Trey McBride too. But this could be a look ahead spot for Houston. Weirdly enough, Jacksonville is up next. They beat them already once. They beat them again next week. They're in the driver's seat to win the division. So you start looking ahead a little bit. It lets the Cardinals back in this game. I think there are 5.5s out there. If we get 5.5, I play that as a best bet. I'm just going to go best bet Arizona plus 3.5 in the first half only. So this line, the fact that I actually did get, I saw 3.5s out there early in the week. Now that for the full line, now I can just get it in the first half. Like taking that, like it to be a close game at halftime, and then we'll see what happens in the second half.
I love it. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here and we come back. More games plus the Pick Six Parlay. We were cheated last week. Find out why when we get back.
It's never too soon for college hoops. It's the Arizona Tip-Off on CBS Sports Network.
It's time for the Pick Six Parlay, where we each select a game for a 4-leg money-line parlay, but there are some rules. First, the person with the best record, hello, Mox, this week for the first time ever since we started this game, gets to add the first leg, second place the second, and so on. Ties are broken by season record. Second, by the end, we have to have at least one plus money pick in there. That's right, there must be one dog. The Pick Six Parlay segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Last week,
unbelievable that parlay didn't hit last week.
And
like,
and why
RJ
didn't it hit?
My leg didn't hit because the freaking Ravens coughed up a 14-point lead with 7 minutes left on that we talked about earlier. I mean, it's unbelievable. We had we have Dallas. Obviously,
Ravens, Vikings, Seahawks.
Vikings won as a dog. Seahawks took care of business, and then the freaking Ravens. Are you kidding me with that loss?
Classic fourth quarter collapse by them.
They even got the missed extra point to still stole it on the money line. Even they didn't cover it. They lost the damn game. Ugh.
We're gonna win one of these, and it starts in week 11. is what I decided. I get to pick first. So, oh my gosh, shocker! Katie's picking the 49ers minus 670 here. RJ.
I get to go second. I'm kind of on the fence whether I take the dog here, but I'm sure not a lot of people are going to like it. I know Brinson wouldn't like it because it would be the Packers if I went the dog. So I'll bypass them. I'll put the pressure on the guys a little bit further down the totem pole to pick a dog, and I'll go with Dolphins minus 800 is the second pick. Going to come out of the bye focused and healthy after that Chiefs loss. Vegas needs a step up in competition after beating two bad offenses. I don't think they're going to hang with the Dolphins here. So even at minus 800, I think there's a little bit of value there. So I'm going to throw it in.
Man, so I put the Niners and the Dolphins in this parlay. Like I'm doing the parlay live on FanDuel, sportsbook.fanduel.com/football.
Oh,
And I was like, you know what? Feeling saucy as heck. Let's just see what the price does if you put the Panthers in there at plus 460. And it just doesn't, like, you don't really get that much value, I don't think, relative to the risk there. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
That's because of our two legs are weighing it down. Right
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
Our legs are massive.
I think what I'm going to do is take it's minus 346 right now. So do the Rams count as an underdog if they are +1 but minus 108 on the money line?
No, you can take them obviously, but it wouldn't fulfill our plus money.
I keep seeing Harry type it into our doc and then erasing it because you say it out loud. That aren't
all right. I think I'm going to go then with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I like this.
At plus 100. Even money.
Yes, I like it.
RJ, did you want me to go to the Packers? That would actually be the smart move, the heel move.
Yeah, well, no, you'd like the Chargers, so you shouldn't be going the Packers. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be me.
I mean, I'll fall on the sword for this parlay.
Propstarz, where are you taking us?
I'll go. Unless Propstarz, unless you have like a really good underdog you like, Alex, then I can pick a.
I like the Vikings, but I mean, I'm good either way, guys. So you tell me.
What do you guys think about the Steelers?
You can throw two in there. So
I like. Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
All right. What are our odds?
Yeah,
Vikings. So we're gonna add the. Harry's like, will you guys just freaking settle on something? Vikings at plus 118. That gets us to plus 462. 49ers minus 670. Dolphins minus 820. Steelers at even money, and the Vikings at plus 118. That's our Pick Six podcast parlay.
I love it. This segment has been brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Week 11. This hits.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out what the noise was coming from upstairs. I think my brother's blasting like jazz or something.
Oh, I thought you were alone. I was like, maybe you got a little poltergeist.
No. He's well, so they came. They're still sort of adjusting to the time difference in Indonesia.
Are they back?
Yeah, they got back yesterday. So I think my brother's just woke up, which is hilarious. Speaking of the Steelers are minus 1.5 at the Cleveland Browns. Oh, they're minus 1.5 now. Is that moved? They're plus 1.5. Plus 1.5 minus 120. The Browns are favored in this game despite losing Deshaun Watson, which I guess tells you something about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have now won, or they're 6-3, and they've been outgained by their opponent in 9 consecutive games. Every game this season, their opponent has outgained them. And of course, it wouldn't be a discussion about the Steelers if I didn't point out #MagicBeans. RJ, you've got the Steelers in a teaser here, right?
Yeah, it's pick 'em. It's one in a lot of places. We have it at 1.5 here, and I think you get either team at 1.5. You tease it because look at that total, 32.5. I mean, they're not expected to be any points in this game. I think everybody in America is expecting this to be a 13-10, 17-13 type of game. And when you're teasing these 6-point games, when you get a super low total, they're even more valuable. Points are going to be hard to come by here. So because we have that available here, it's going to be the first leg of my teaser at plus 7.5. I mean, they were lucky to beat Cleveland in the first meeting. I don't expect them to have any success offensively offensively, really. But with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I don't expect offensive success on the Cleveland side either. I would expect that Cleveland would be able to run the ball if they had Deshaun Watson in there under center with the threat of passing. But if they don't have to respect that, then you could just load up the box and let TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith go nuts on those backup tackles that are going to be in for Cleveland. So going to be a low scoring game either way. I just take the first leg of my teaser here with Pittsburgh and get a nice little juicy 7.5 on a 32.5 point total.
I love that. I'm taking the under. It's at 32.5. It's gross. It's so low. But like you said, RJ, who is scoring in this game? The last start that DTR had, didn't he have no passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions? You got Kenny Pickett, who can't seem to run this offense. I tried to look to see if I could get both quarterbacks to throw an interception and parlay them, but they weren't available quite yet. This is going to be a game of turnovers, a game of defense, low scoring. So I will take that under 32.5. I think you can still grab 33s out there if you are sick like me and want to take an under this low.
I have a note for some sports, but maybe FanDuel. Go out there and put a prop up to say who will score more touchdowns in this game, the offenses or the defenses collectively. And I want to see the odds you give me on the defenses because I might think about taking it.
Yeah, I do like that. FanDuel, listen up. All right, moving on. The Giants. This is one interesting one that you brought up about the Thanksgiving Day games. Giants at the Commanders, 9.5. This total 36.5. Is that still there? Giants.
By the way, just really quickly on FanDuel, I was looking to see first touchdown score. Browns first drive punt, Steelers first drive punt. Parlay is plus 160.
Do it.
It's not bad.
No, that is absolutely
happening. I'd rather toss that in there than the Steelers plus 100, honestly.
Sometimes on books, too, you can bet the over-under on the amount of punts made. This may be one where you take an over on a punt. There's a lot of interesting things you could do with this game besides take a side. All right, Giants at 9.5. You could still find it at 10. I like the Giants plus the 10. And look, I faded the Giants last week. It actually cashed. Tommy DeVito, Pride of New Jersey, hasn't really done much. I don't necessarily think they can keep this close, but of a total of 37 or 36.5, to have a 9.5 point or 10 point favorite, that's just too many points for such a low total. And if you think about Sam Howell, I mean, he gets sacked more than anyone else. And you're up against Wink Martindale, who's just going to blitz the living daylights out of him, make it hard for him. So I think this one's going to be as ugly as you expect, lower scoring, but I can't lay that many points with the Commanders with this total so low. So give me the Giants.
Yeah, who are the Commanders to be laying this many points against anyone? I know it's the worst offense we've ever seen, and I have the Giants rated as -10 in my power ratings, which is as low as you're going to find a team at this point of the season. But even at that number, I mean, the Commanders, because they don't have a great home field advantage, they need to be pretty close to average, and I don't think they're an average team with that defense. So I agree with this pick. I am a little bit hesitant with Tommy DeVito. I think the play here might be to wait until in-game, and as soon as they put Matt Barkley in, then bet the Giants, because then you have to actually have a passing game to respect there. A little bit, because we know he can at least throw a far pass. But I just don't see how you can make the Commanders massive favorites in this game, considering their defense.
Agreed.
The Chicago Bears. RJ mentioned the teams that are playing on Thanksgiving, all with these big spreads. The Niners, we'll talk about them in a minute. We talked about the Cowboys, of course. And then you have the and by the way, like, don't sleep with the Commanders. I mean, kind of look, I know it's a divisional game, but
yeah,
kind of looking ahead, like they got to play Thursday against at Dallas, and that's a huge game. Like, you win, you got to be thinking. I mean, I think every game you have to win if you're the Commanders to get back in the. You're right there in the playoff hunt. Anyway, point being is that the Lions are hosting, of course, on Thanksgiving, as they do every Thanksgiving, but they are first hosting the Bears as 7.5 point favorites, and I don't care that RJ says we should be worried that the Lions are playing again on Thursday and playing on Thanksgiving. They got PC Principal, a.k.a. Dan Campbell, a.k.a. Dan the Man, a.k.a. whatever else you have, whatever the hell else you want to call Dan Campbell. My favorite coach, America's favorite coach. And he ain't got to let him overlook the Bears, especially now with Justin Fields coming back. I don't care if Fields, Tyson Bagent, Tyler Bagent, T.D. Bagent, I don't care who it is. I think the Bears get romped here by a Lions team that is really feeling itself, especially after a win. And that this Lions team at home against a hated division rival, these fans have been outrageous when they travel, and at home they are loud as hell. They know they're going to be getting wasted in Detroit for Sunday through Thursday, celebrating Thanksgiving, celebrating good Lions football, and the Lions roll the Bears in this spot.
When's the last time the Lions won on Thanksgiving?
I don't know, but my Uncle Mills says to always bet on the Lions on Thanksgiving. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. He's like, you never fade the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they need to stop play David Blau, your favorite quarterback, because he's the Thanksgiving legend, David Blau. This line has come down because Justin Fields is trending toward being in. Looks like he's going to play. When it was double digits, I thought this was in danger of being a sleepy spot. If you're playing Tyson Bagent as a double-digit favorite, you got the Thursday game up next and Thanksgiving. Maybe you come out a little flat in this game. I don't think that we're going to see that from Detroit here. I think they'll be focused with Justin Fields coming back here. They'll play this game. I would lean to the 7.5 as well. But because the line's come down so far, I threw it in as the second leg of my teaser, -1.5. I do think they're going to win this game. It's just, Detroit's defense, 4th in yards per rush. Chicago's offense going to have success passing. And with Fields in his first game back, I'm not counting on that. Chicago's defense all of a sudden number 1 in yards per rush, but Detroit off a back-to-back 200-yard rushing games. So it's strength versus strength there, and I think Detroit can get the upper hand with their offensive line there. Recent solid Chicago defensive run came against offenses that couldn't pass, and Detroit is an offense that can pass 5th in yards per pass right now. So I believe that they're going to win this game, but if you want to be safe because the line's right in teaser range now because of how much it's come down, tease it with something else. So Detroit -1.5 and Pittsburgh +7.5 is my teaser.
Yeah, you know what? There's nothing like more annoying than me putting in a best bet and then like RJ's got a teaser. Like that's such a better idea than my.
I don't know why I never think of it either.
Did your teaser hit last week? Wasn't it undefeated? And then Harry brought it up.
Did it hit last week? I can't remember what we had on this podcast because I do a few different things here. I don't think it did. And I definitely had the Vikings as a leg. But I think whatever the other leg was, it might have been the Titans as like a +2.5 to keep it within 8.5, and they lost by 14. So I can't remember exactly which one it was.
It was a classic announcer jinx.
Jared Goff this year just keeping it up. Incredible splits, home versus road. Completing 72% of his passes at home, 65.8 on the road, at 106.5 quarterback rating at home, 93.9 on the road, 8.1 yards per attempt at home, 7.4 on the road. 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions versus 6 and 2. He's playing great football everywhere, but he is been very vocal about these fans, how much he loves his fan base, and I just think, I think to back it up, I think we do get a focused, aggressive Detroit pass attack in this game. Jameson Williams up top one time.
Also sounds like we don't fade them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, prop. I'm sorry. You have a prop here too.
I do. I am backing rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs over 36.5 rushing yards. That's the number I got on the site. It's ticked up to, I believe, 41.5. Still comfortable playing it there. It was super encouraging to see David Montgomery healthy and Jahmyr Gibbs out-snap, out-touch, out-carry David Montgomery in a game with, again, both backs active and healthy. Both made huge chunk plays. Jahmyr Gibbs showed off his trademark elusiveness, breakaway speed, explosiveness. So, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is locked into a high-leverage role in this Detroit offense behind an excellent offensive line. He looks more and more comfortable every game. It was also cool to see him not only running effectively between the tackles, but there was a play where he ran to the 1 yard line. I don't know if you guys recall this, and Monty got called in to go vulture a touchdown, and he actually allowed for Jahmyr Gibbs to get the touchdown run himself, who then proceeded to have a 1 yard rush. So that was awesome to see. And I've just been so impressed with Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm shocked this number is so low. This is by far my favorite prop on the board so far. I like his combination line. I like his rushing line. I am all in on Jahmyr Gibbs, even against a vaunted Bears run defense that frankly has been excellent. But when we're talking about the Detroit Lions, their run blocking line, and Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he can be effective versus any defense. So, yeah, give me Jahmyr Gibbs.
Worth noting, too, real quickly, that I don't know if do you guys follow at Coach Speak Index on Twitter?
No.
Oh, my God. It's a great account. Highly recommend you follow it. I recently started following it. And it's like basically takes all these quotes from coaches, right? And then does an index. And like, so for instance, A lot to unpack here. Dan Campbell talking about workload split between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Certainly we know what David can do. I think it'll be a little bit by committee and make sure we get those guys touches. Gibbs will get his touches. But the best part about this is that Dan Campbell has an 85% reliability rating on depth chart coach speak and an 85% rating on usage workload coach speak, which means, to Prop's point, like Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get his touches. Like they're not going to suddenly out of nowhere phase like Jahmyr Gibbs out like he was early on in the season when they were using David Montgomery heavily, which I think that's worth noting because we could continue to see Jahmyr Gibbs. And again, follow at Coach Speak Index. Great follow.
Yeah.
I'll like just peruse the feed and just see like what the coaches are saying, and like it's like certain coaches like lie about depth chart but don't lie about injuries. It's really fascinating.
I thought you were going with Coach Rules when you're like, have you checked out? I'm like, oh, we
No. But you can watch me and Coach on HQ and CBS Sports Network later today. Coming up after the break, Katie's Niners. We got to talk about them. They are hosting as a big favorite before Thanksgiving as well. But first, on Sunday, we can't wait for an NFL on CBS doubleheader. The early slate of games is headlined by an AFC North rivalry between the Steelers and the Browns. Later, AFC East foes take center stage when the Jets fly into Buffalo to take on the Bills. It all begins at noon Eastern with JB and the guys on the NFL Today. All hail Sunday. The NFL is on CBS. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Niners chatter next.
You a lawman or an outlaw?
Bit of both, I reckon. Around these parts, we might be men. They're just killers.
You up for the task? I wouldn't be sitting here in my Sunday best if I wasn't. I'm warning you, your wicked days are done.
Katie's Niners.
Oh, sorry. I set this one up. Yep.
That's all right.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 49ers. Niners laying 11.5. This total 41.5. Fun fact about this game. Do you guys know that after last week, Purdy has now started for a full season of NFL starts? That was his 17th game. And do you remember who his very first start was last year? It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he took on Tom Brady.
Beat Tom Brady is Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah, that's right.
So a lot of little fun facts going on in this game. And y'all know me. I never lay the points with the 49ers. I look at their team total cash in the first 5 weeks. Obviously, during that losing streak, they did not score over 17. It was 23.5 last week. That was something that cashed for us. This week, 26.5. And look, the thought behind this is all of Purdy's weapons are healthy. And when that happens, it's just very confusing for defenses. It's very hard to contain them when they're missing some key pieces, especially Trent Williams. The offense just becomes like a little bit more predictable. And we've seen what happens with that. Everyone got a touchdown last week, except for Christian McCaffrey. So we do have to call out that my ringer, the thing I put in to bump up my score, was one of the things that didn't cash last week. It was the only time.
No, yeah, you should lose 2 units for that.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. I didn't even try at the end.
That's what you get. Where Propstarz go?
Let's not move past this too quickly. I mean, that's because of you. That streak did not happen.
You
It was
broke
because
the
of your pick,
streak.
Derek.
Okay.
You jinxed it. It was completely you. He was going to score. And so you put that pick in and tried to get a free win on this podcast. So
That's
hope
the
you-
one that
hope you
you
have to
lost
sit
is
there
a
with that
minus
guilt.
200 touchdown prop.
Well, I lost a couple of other ones. Yeah. But look, cheaters don't prosper
Call
on the
RJ.
show. Tried to throw in a fast one, blew up in my face. I didn't even have to bring it up. You guys probably would have forgot about it. But yes, Niners.
RJ, would you have forgotten about it? I forgot about
I
it.
would not. I was waiting for that moment. I was going to call that out. As soon as he didn't get in, I was like, we're giving Katie hell this week. For that.
and rightfully so. It's exactly what I deserve. It is exactly what I deserve. But I do think the Niners get over this team total. But it's very interesting what you brought up about the Thanksgiving game. Obviously, the Seahawks Niners Thanksgiving game is something that means a lot to these teams and these fan bases. So the 11.5 is probably a lot, but scoring really hasn't been a problem with the 49ers once they are clicking, which they appear to be clicking again.
And during the losing streak, I mean, the defense was a big part of the problem too. And that was not the case last week against Jacksonville. They were awesome. And I wonder if you made a big deal about Steve Wilkes being on the sideline. I wonder if that actually mattered for some reason. It's a weird thing that you're like, how can this possibly matter that much? But maybe it does for them for some reason. Tampa Bay's pass offense a little better than Jacksonville's. They are top 6 in interception rate and sack rate. So they don't give you freebies very often. They're able to execute down the field. Maybe their defense can give San Fran a little trouble in the run game. Secondary held up last week too. I thought that would be a little worse for the Tampa Bay secondary because Jamel Dean left the previous game with a concussion. Figure he's not going to play the next week, but he was back in there. So maybe it's a little bit tougher to score points here. It is the sleepy spot, like you said. Would lean to the Buccaneers just because there's so many points, but I do think San Francisco winning the game is pretty locked in here.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that one. Where Steve Wilkes on the sideline, the thing I would think about that is that maybe it's more like Kyle Shanahan sort of having a bit of a hand on when Wilkes, like being able to very quickly say, don't effing blitz here. Like, don't run a cover 0 blitz, please, would be my guess. And so
just the energy of having the coach on the sideline, I think, makes a big difference.
I don't think it's a positive thing for Steve Wilkes that Kyle Shanahan wants him on the sideline. I think it's a
positive thing for the team. I don't care about Steve Wilkes. I think it's good for the team.
Okay. Jets at the Bills. Bills -7, over under of 40 here. The Bills are in a bad spot. They just fired, of course, Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, and they fired him because there were too many men on the field, apparently, which is interesting because that's really more of a defensive or special team situation and not an offensive thing. But you may get a little bit of a dead cat bounce here where, you see the team everybody's like, all right, we fired the OC, Joe Brady now going to take over. Like, can he be the guy? Like, if the Bills offense rolls against the Jets, and the Bills offense has been good all season by most metrics, but I mean, it just feels like these turnover plays have been weighted on them. If the Bills offense rolls against the Jets, it'll be great news for Joe Brady, who has been a hot name in coordinator searches before. And I think, if he solves the Jets issue, but you guys, Katie, I think you have an under on this one, right?
I do. I just think the Bills are in a little bit of disarray right now. Josh Allen kind of going through some stuff, like you said, turn the ball over a lot. And it just seems to be that the Jets really show up to play the Bills every time that they meet. This defense is going to make it very tough on Buffalo. And of course, we know that Zach Wilson can't do a lot offensively. So I like this under 40. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game.
I'm also on the under for this game at 40. Jets offense is awful. 0 touchdowns against a bad Chargers team and against a bad Vegas team the last 2 weeks. 8 offensive touchdowns on the season. Haven't scored in something like 30 drives, and that was like a 50-yard rush. That wasn't even a sustained drive. So even the struggling Buffalo defense can have success. You want to fire someone, fire the guy that's calling the defense. I don't think they're going to get any dead count but cat bounce here because they haven't fixed the problem. The players
by yourself, Sean,
aren't suddenly relieved because of the coaching change, because I think they're all, you see with Stephon Diggs' brother on Twitter, and all the comments he's making. And
that is so toxic. If I were, I'd be like, stay out of it. I wouldn't want my brother doing that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the problem's still there, but I think the Jets aren't going to score a ton in this game because the pass rush is still good for Buffalo, and Wilson is abysmal under pressure. You just get a little bit of pressure on him, he folds, like a table. So I think the rush defense also stepped up against Denver, like a folding table. Yeah, won the yards per play battle 7.1 to 4.2. I think the offense is going to regress after that because that wasn't the problem. Dorsey wasn't the problem. They had great numbers across the board. I think because of the firing, they call more run plays to make Sean McDermott happy. And the ceiling's lowered on the offense that had been effective because that's not what they do well. So that's going to curb scoring against a really good defense here. I would lean to the Jets at +7, even though my power rankings make it a little higher because of this firing, because of the conservative nature of the offense. I think it's going to happen. And I think that fits in well with props play right here.
Yeah, I like James Cook. I know it's been frustrating usage for the running back, but it just passes the eye test. Every time I see him, I'm just wondering why he's not getting more and more touches, more involved in the offense, 5.2 yards per carry. He's averaged over 5 yards per carry over the duration of his career. Hopefully with Dorsey gone, maybe he'll get some more play calls. But even if he doesn't, this number, in my opinion, is way closer to his floor than his ceiling. There's also a stark contrast if we look at James Cook's usage and production in wins versus losses, with the Bills being 7-point favorites. I like his chances. He's gone over in 4 of 5 games that the Bills have won. He's averaging 75 rushing yards in Bills victories compared to their defeats here. So I like that aspect of the play as well. Just not a lot of confidence in any of the other running backs. I know Latavius Murray looked good early in the game, but to me, it's far and away James Cook is a more explosive option in the backfield. Had the fumble, but I feel like he salvaged his night nicely afterwards as well. He already gashed the Jets defense once. The Jets have been vulnerable to running backs as well. If we're looking at the path of least resistance, teams have had most success attacking the Jets up the middle. So I think James Cook is going to be effective. Only needs 10 to 12 touches to go over this number. So give me James Cook over 52.5 rushing yards.
The chat keeps asking about the weather and if there will be snow. According to weather.com, high of 44, partly cloudy. So it doesn't appear to have any snow in this game. All right, moving on. The Seahawks at this one. This is a game that I kind of don't want to touch, but y'all have a lot of picks on this one. Seahawks at the Rams. Rams coming off a bye. Seahawks laying 1. Virtual pick on this total 46.5. This just feels like it could go either way. But Brinson, you're backing Matt Stafford.
I am backing Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay has had good success against the Seahawks in his career since taking over. You get Matthew Stafford back. The Rams are down and out right now, but this is sort of the last hurrah for them to try to make a push for the playoffs. I still think they're very much in the mix for that 7 seed, even though people are likely counting them out. So I think Stafford comes back, has a great game. Seahawks defense, not bad, but I think Puka Nacua should be in line to play in this game. I believe it was limited practice on Wednesday. So we get Puka, get Cooper Kupp, healthy staff. Look, here's the bottom line. When Matthew Stafford plays and is healthy, the Rams are a good football team and they can win games. And when he doesn't play, they aren't good. So I'm banking on Stafford being healthy enough to be productive in this game.
I am also on the Rams as a best bet. You said McVay dominates this matchup. He's 9-1 against the spread in his last 10 against Pete Carroll. It's just overperforming expectations every time. And the Seattle team, which me and Alex love coming into the year, and I still like, they are looking less and less elite by the week. Their offense piled up yards against an awful Washington defense, could not get in the end zone, settled for 5 field goals, had one 64-yard touchdown, not able to sustain drives on offense, which you should be able to do against that awful defense. Seattle's defense ranked very highly earlier in the year, down to 15th in yards per play, 30th on third down, 29th in the red zone. I think they could struggle against some legit offenses, and the Rams with Matthew Stafford have a legit offense. Scored 30 against Seattle in the first meeting on the road. Now this one's at home. I think the number's right based on power ratings just between these teams, but because of the history with McVay there and the boost of Stafford coming back, I think the Rams are the clear play. So I'm taking them +1, or if you can find a money line around -105, you could play that.
I'm going against my colleagues here, gentlemen. I apologize in advance for the beatdown the Seahawks are about to put on the Rams. But I'm going to back them here. I just don't think they're going to get embarrassed twice in one season by this Rams team. I know Pete Carroll or Sean McVay's had Pete Carroll's number here, but I just have a lot more confidence in the depth, in the talent overall in Seattle. I think they can run the ball effectively, control the clock, limit Matthew Stafford's opportunities, and defensively, they've been regressing a bit, but I just like this matchup for Seattle. I'll take them on the road to get the victory here.
I love it. Spicy.
Okay. Minnesota Vikings at the Denver Broncos. Broncos -2.5, over under 42.5. Are the Broncos but the Vikings are the hottest team in football? This is a matchup of the 2 hottest teams in football right now.
It shouldn't be.
The Josh Dobbs Minnesota Vikings, who won, I think, 5 straight, or is it 6 straight now? And then, right? Isn't it? Am I wrong there? That's right, isn't it?
With him, because I think they're on a 4-game winning streak, and then
5 straight, 1 loss before that, 1 win before that, and 3 losses before that.
Yeah, that's right.
So 6 and 4.
6 and 4. Yep. Minnesota 5 straight wins against the Bears, the Niners, the Packers, the Falcons, and the Saints. The Denver Broncos, 3 straight wins against the Packers, and then sandwiching their bye with the wins against the Chiefs and the Bills. Like, if you had told me their other win is against the Bears, they're 4-5. If you had told me that this team would beat the Chiefs and the Bills in back-to-back games after the way that they started the season, after giving up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, like, they've really turned things around, quite honestly. And I think you're going to see a inspired defensive effort. And you're going to see Russell Wilson play some pretty decent football. And he's been playing decent offensive football lately. Looked a little bit better. Maybe Sean Payton has kind of fixed it a little bit. And as such, I think the Broncos figure out a way to stop the Josh Dobbs hype train.
Also, I feel like Russell Wilson's been using his legs a lot. He was running a lot. What was it? Monday night was the last game that they played. It was a Monday night?
Right.
Broncos? Monday night? Yes, Monday night. So I would take over on his rushing prop. All right, we're getting into Monday Night Football, which we realize that we haven't done on this show before. We almost leave out Monday Night Football every week, but not this week. It is the Super Bowl rematch, if you will. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs laying 2.5. This total 45.5. I checked. Taylor Swift is in Rio de Janeiro. She has a concert that night, so no Taylor Swift there, which we know can move the line. I saw the chat chattering about that a little bit. I think if we learned anything from the Super Bowl, you hammer the Chiefs here minus the 2.5. But I'd be curious if I set the line at how many times the broadcast shows Mama Kelsey at 5.5. Would y'all go over or under?
Way over.
You think more than 6 times?
With the Swift parents there?
The Swift parents? You think the Swift
parents are meeting at the game? The parents are meeting at the game.
Whoa. How do you know that?
Well, that's the report according to.
But she's not going to be there. She's got a concert in Rio de Janeiro.
There you go. Look, the parent. No, he's hanging out with Mr. Swift, and now apparently Travis Kelce's mom and dad, and the Swift, Mr. and Mrs. Swift, I don't know their names, are also going to be there. So the parents are all going to meet. So like way over 5.5.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, way over. Also,
I don't know what Taylor Swift's parents look like.
Even more. I didn't. Okay. Whoa. I didn't realize that. But Brinson, you also like the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like the Chiefs minus 2.5 here. I think pretty simple, frankly. Andy Reid off the bye. Andy Reid off the bye. Andy Reid. That's just okay. Anyway, you get the point. Andy Reid is off the bye.
Not that good in Kansas City. Not that good in Kansas City. At least in the regular season.
It's fun to sing, RJ. It's just fun to sing. So I'm going to lay the 2.5. And
the Swift parents are traveling. I would make more sense if this was in Philadelphia, considering I think they're from somewhere outside of Philadelphia, but they're going to travel to Kansas City without their daughter.
But there must be Eagles fans.
She might be.
Want to go into that if they say, hey, we can put you in a box for this game for a Super Bowl rematch.
They were Eagles fans, but Swift's dad was wearing a Chiefs lanyard. We got to stop talking about this. People are probably like up in arms listening to us talk about Taylor Swift so much, but okay, very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation too because they both had a bye before this, not just the Chiefs, but the Eagles too. So it's kind of set up like the Super Bowl. And going into that Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts was dealing with a major injury. Wasn't sure how effective he would be in the Super Bowl, and he was amazing. Like he was not the reason they lost that game. Would have won the game except that freak fumble. I think that the Chiefs returned for a touchdown really was in it the whole way. So we'll see if it has a similar effect here. He has not been running as much with his knee injury, or it has been effective as a runner with his knee injury. So if these extra week to rest for this game, I think it can come out, and we see these high leverage games with these big teams going against each other all the time. Quarterbacks like to run a little bit more and pick up those first downs. So I think he could be a little bit more on the move than people expect in this game, especially since he's been dealing with that injury.
I would also add that the field conditions in that Super Bowl really took away the Eagles' defense's biggest strength. I know obviously both teams had to deal with it, but the Eagles led the NFL in sacks last season, had basically no pressure as a result of the field conditions in the Super Bowl, despite having arguably the best pass rush in the NFL. So I think that'll be a big difference as well. I think they're going to be able to get some pressure on Patrick Mahomes here, and I personally like the Eagles as well.
All right. That is going to do it for our show. We're 2-2 on Monday football. We'll see if the experts or the Joes.
Well, just to be clear, I don't know if I'm taking the Eagles. I'm just saying the Hurt stuff. Look for his rushing numbers. Like I might be on the Chiefs here.
All right. All right. So let's take a look and recap our best bets. Brinson, I believe you are first.
Yep. I went with 6 after RJ insulted me in my math and my counting skills. I'm actually going with 6. The Chargers -3, the Dolphins -12.5, the Lions -7.5, the Rams +1, the Broncos -2.5, and Kansas City, the Chiefs -2.5. With the Swifts
Yes.
in attendance.
Yes. I like that. Robert in the chat said he's investing in Brinson's picks. So do this not for yourself, but also for Robert in the chat. I am taking Arizona plus the 4.5. I got it at 5, but for the sake of this, we'll do 4.5. I like McBride over 54.5 receiving yards. Pittsburgh and Cleveland under. That should be under 32.5. And then the Giants plus the 9.5. San Francisco over their team total of 26.5. And then New Jersey and Buffalo under 40. And then I also have KC -2.5.
New Jersey and Buffalo is interesting. I think you're banishing them to New Jersey.
NYJ. Yeah. Sorry, the acronym got me. Yes, but they are kind of the New Jersey team. I'd say the Jets are more of like the Jersey team.
Right. I think Jersey doesn't want to claim them at this point, seeing that offense.
True.
I have Green Bay +3. I have Tennessee's team total under 16.5. I have Tony Pollard under 65.5 rush yards or 66. I don't know what it was on our site, but Arizona +3.5 first half. I have a teaser, Pittsburgh +7.5 and Detroit -1.5. I also have the Jets and the Bills going under 40 points, and I have the Rams +1.
And I have Aaron Jones under 54.5 rushing yards, Jahmyr Gibbs over 36.5 rushing yards, and I have James Cook over 52.5 rushing yards. And last but not least, I'll have to be wearing a Seattle jersey if they get the win, so I can brag to Brinson and RJ on our next appearance next Thursday. I'm going to take the Seahawks at -1.
Spicy.
All right. Very spicy. That is our show. Make sure you join on Sunday as the Super Friends go through and recap week 11 of the NFL. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page if you're listening to the audio version only. Do the same, and we will see you next time. Good luck on your bets.